Hello, welcome to Chat with Dr. Kat. I'm Dr. Kat. Today we have a guest, Simi, who's going to be speaking about an issue that she has and she wants to share. Hopefully, what you can do is take away from this. If it's something that you're experiencing in your life, this is something that you can take away. Or maybe it's a friend, a family member that's experiencing something very similar. So sit back, get ready. We're going to listen to Simi. And Simi, I'm listening. Let me know what's
Thank you.
happening.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kat. I think that the story I have to share, it's a pretty long-winded one, and I think one that people can resonate with because I'm an immigrant to the US. I'm from the UK, and I moved here about 20 odd years ago, and I moved in uh the direction of falling in love and getting
Mm,
married and having this beautiful life. And unfortunately, things didn't pan out the way that what I wanted them to, which is, I mean, more often than not, that does happen. So I kind of
right.
adjusted my expectations, thinking, "Oh, okay, this is what my life is going to be. That's okay. It's not what I thought, but you know what? This is my new reality. I'm okay with that."
Hmm.
But what I did find is as I progressed through my marriage, it was the opposite of what I thought love, happiness, and marriage should be. I was in a
Mm,
very toxic situation. And that toxic situation really created internal conflict for me because I'm a data scientist. I'm in data and analytics by my career. So I'm very, very much focused on, I have the data to make an answer to a question. This is it. We're good.
right.
But then that's kind of how I've lived my life. But for me, my instinct was telling me, Simi, this isn't right for you. You need to move away from this. But I just couldn't balance the two together. And it was just such a emotional struggle for me. And
Hmm.
I have two amazing kids. And in the midst of all this, I also lost a child.
Mm, I'm
And
sorry.
there was a lot of trauma involved. And one of the things that I struggle with, and I will continue to struggle with because I think it's a journey that I have to continue throughout my days, is how to tell myself that it's okay not to be okay. I know
Hmm.
that's kind of flashed around to a lot of people, but it's something that I'm really learning to live right now because it's just, there's been so much trauma and I don't know how to categorize it anymore. And I don't know how to move past it. And that's kind of when I started thinking about what is going on with my life. And I realized as the days got more and more stressful, I told you I lost my son. I don't want this to be a trauma dump, but I also got diagnosed with cancer, and then I had multiple strokes. It was like one thing after the other kept happening,
It's a
and
lot. Hmm.
it's a lot. And I just
It's a
thought,
lot.
is there there's one constant in my life, and that's stress, and that's
Hmm.
trauma.
Hmm.
Is that what's causing this to happen to me? Because I'm just unable to manage it in my own body. And that's
Hmm.
kind of where I was just at a loss because you want to respond a certain way. But if you respond that way, it's going to get even more stressful. What do you do? How do you become a better version of yourself without giving up who you are as well as a person? Does that make sense?
It does. It does. And you don't have to, but when you're in that place, it somehow doesn't feel like you can get there.
It really does. And I think
Yeah.
so. I was in this marriage for 18 years, and funnily enough, or maybe not funnily enough, but it was when I was lying in my hospital bed after my stroke
Hmm.
that I realized I did not want to be in this marriage anymore.
Hmm.
I couldn't do it. 18 years done, I couldn't do it because I just felt like this cannot be my life.
Yes.
I am worth so much more than this, but it took
Yeah.
me 18 years to get there,
Hmm.
to realize that I'm worth more than that. And it's just I'm still kind of living that journey, but the biggest struggle I have is really focusing on trying to understand why things keep happening. Why do
Hmm.
things keep happening? How can I just catch and release it? Right? And I'm trying
Hmm.
to teach myself that. And I kind of developed a framework for myself almost. And I think when
Good.
you're in these situations, you develop these things. And I'm sure
Hmm.
many of your other kind of guests may have said the same thing. It's just a way to help me understand myself better. And I call it the triad of thought, but it's essentially
Hmm.
the three pillars are the intellect, which is my logical brain working, right?
Right.
Always working, that data science brain that I've always lived with. And then my instinct, which I try my level best to listen to, but it sometimes kind of takes a back seat because the logic is so powerful, right?
Correct.
And then the third part is the integration and trying to figure out how they can both work together in
Hmm.
order for me to make the best decisions to move forward, respond to situations in a way that doesn't put me on a back foot.
Hmm.
And that's
Well,
kind of how sorry.
no, that's okay. I think that that's great. That's a great thing that you've come up with for yourself because it is important. We have all of our thoughts and then we have our emotions. And when we look at it, even from a therapeutic standpoint, how do those thoughts and feelings connect
Yeah.
and not override each other as well, right? We can think away an emotion, we can feel away a thought. And so we want to be able to bring those two together. So I think that's wise what you're doing. I will say this in the beginning, I did hear you say, you were lying in your hospital bed and you couldn't do it anymore. I want you to change that and say, I wouldn't do it anymore, that I would not continue to live in this marriage of unhappiness and trauma, that it became a choice. You know, when you say 18 years, obviously you've put in a tremendous amount of time and you had children and you did all of these things together. Because sometimes there's a lot of things trending right now on the internet, where they say, oh, they're trying to alienate parents, which they are. That's like a big thing right now. And therapists tell people to do that. Hopefully, they're not telling people to do that, but I think sometimes that does happen. But there are times in our lives where we get to the point where we do need to step away from someone who is causing us harm and unhappiness at such a great level. And progress cannot be made.
Yeah.
When progress cannot be made and two people are not communicating and they're not healthy for one another, then boundaries need to be redefined. It doesn't have to be all or nothing, right? And I'm assuming with you, it's not all or nothing because you're co-parenting. There has to be beautiful shades of gray. I will say this also too, Simi, is that uh, with research, because I want to tap into that brain that you have there, is that when we look at research, why do some women heal from C-sections faster than others? Well, a lot of it is positivity, how they look at life, as opposed to somebody who's caught up in depression and anxiety and stress. They tend to take longer to heal. When we look at colicky babies, why is it that some babies are so much more colicky than others? And a lot of times it's directly related to the stress and anxiety of the mother and the father.
Oh,
Okay. So then it
okay.
becomes they transfer that stress and anxiety onto the baby. And, the baby doesn't know what's going on. It's not processing necessarily thoughts and feelings at that point. And that's what happens. Okay. So what does this mean to what you were saying? Here's another study that I want you to think about and how this, when you say, how is this happening to me? Why did these things continue? So, have you ever heard of the book, The Secret, or the
Oh,
movie,
yes.
The Secret? Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, in that, there's this Japanese doctor who did this study on water. Are you aware of that one?
Yes, I know what you're
Okay.
talking about. Yeah.
So for the people listening, I'm going to restate it really quickly. But basically, I'm going to summarize it, took water samples from the exact same place and had one that was just left, another one that was given positivity. They spoke positivity to it. Beautiful classical music was played for it. The other water, and this is just water, the other
Mhm.
water was played acid rock, serious rock, that music that had a lot of foul language, a lot of ugliness to it. Though some people love that music, but in this case, in his study, and then literally researchers walked by and said horrible, hateful things to this water. Okay, it was their energy that was coming across. After a while, they looked at that water and they saw the water where there was positivity spoken and wonderful music and a great environment, and all the molecules lined up looking like beautiful snowflakes. When you looked at the water that was treated poorly, all the molecules looked like a train wreck. So there's something to be said about that. That when we are constantly around negativity or negative feelings, that even our body starts to change. And we're what, 75% water, yep. Right? Why is it that the moon can change moods? And we've got these beautiful werewolf stories that came about because we've had this factual basis from before that, sometimes things in our physical body are changed by our environment. So, I'm not saying everything that went on with you came from your environment, but it doesn't help. It doesn't help.
So right. Yeah, and that's
right.
So right. And that's so right, Dr. Kat, because and I can tell you, I have been separated for about 3 years and divorced for coming up to 2 now, and
Okay.
I have never been healthier. I have never been healthier. So
Yeah.
Yes, there is an impact. Obviously, there are some health conditions, underlying health conditions, but the way that I have been able to grow as a person without that negative energy has really, like, I feel so great. Like, I feel like I am happy again. I feel, and it's so funny. I got a tattoo recently of a dandelion because I see myself as a weed. I'm like,
right.
You have to grow in any environment that's
right.
given. And I always say, I probably am growing in one of those cracked cement, like sidewalks that's kind of like stemming through. I feel like that's what I am. And I feel so passionate about that because I think that right now, even though, I probably am struggling as a co-parent, I'm struggling like with so many different things, I feel so happy, right? But I still want to be better. I want to be better. I want to introspect. I want to be a better version of myself for my kids, for myself, really, because I feel like I always put myself on the bottom of the list for so long. And now I want to make myself, or I want to try to be the best version of myself I can for myself. And that just generates to my kids and everyone around me that I care about.
Well, yeah. And the other thing is too, what a great example for your children that if something's not working, you do your best to fix it. And if you keep trying to fix it and it doesn't work, there can be another solution. Yeah. That phrase, it's sometimes better to come from a dysfunctional family than to be in a dysfunctional family. Same thing with relationships. But I am an advocate for people doing their best to try and make things work if they can make things work. But you have to be able to allow yourself to become vulnerable, willing to listen, willing to see that it's not all your fault or the other person's fault, and that there doesn't have to be a winner, that one winner. You can both win by working on it. But after that, if it doesn't work, then it is best to do what you need to do. So, I commend you on that you're able to get out and you're a great role model for your kids. But let's get to the co-parenting part, because I think that's probably where your biggest struggle is. So you can't change him. You can't change him. You can't change how he reaches out to you, his own anger, his own disappointment. Did he want the divorce or no?
No, I asked for the divorce, and it's a very, let's say it's very bitter even now, 3 years on. So it's very, very bitter, and it's not fun, and it's very it's very draining on every aspect of me, which is very hard because I would have hoped by this time things would have changed and things would have calmed down. And initially, it was a very amicable process that we were going through. Then suddenly it just switched and it became very vicious, very, very vicious. And it's just not slowing down at all. So I think the biggest struggle for me is that I consume that energy even though we're not together with the messages and anything that comes through. It's very negative and it's not hurtful, it's just draining. Do you know what I mean?
Have you? Yes. I always tell people it's a fine line between everything's great, we're communicating, and hell, pure hell.
Yes,
Fine
yes.
line.
Yeah.
And all it has to do is when you talk about what you've discovered for yourself is that emotion. If he has unresolved emotions, which it sounds like he does, he then plays it out. He's hurt people, right? So he wants to hurt you because he's feeling pain and he's struggling. I think one of your biggest things is kind of work on forgiveness with him. I always talk about forgiveness. It is such a hard thing. It's so easy to say, but to forgive people for their shortcomings and their behavior and everything else, because you can only imagine the turmoil that's going on in their brain, being that bitter, angry, frustrated, all these things that they do. So that helps because, it allows you to see things clearer rather than why does he keep doing this to me? Well, we
Yeah.
know why. He's angry. He's
Yeah.
bitter. He's, salty. He's all of those things. There's nothing we can do. So
Yeah.
what you can do is change how you respond. Have you ever used a service where you speak through the service and not each other?
That's exactly what we're doing.
You're doing that
That's
now.
exactly
Okay.
what we're doing. And I mean, I think so.
And
I
does
really
it
like what.
translate? Does it translate? Like if he puts in there, oh my God, I hate when you do this. You're so terrible. And it says to you, hey, I'm a little bit frustrated. Does it translate what he's saying into something that's more,
He can say
um,
whatever he wants, but it will get flagged if he does say something. And I want to like it's very difficult to explain. I think until you're in a situation, it's very narcissistic behavior. It's very I want control when I know that you're not in my life anymore. I still want to control it in some which way or form.
right?
And I think that's the struggle. And I just want to go back. You said something so interesting to me. And, forgiveness, right? Forgiveness is so important. And yes, I love that you said that because this is something that I've been doing. And I think what I realized in my, my healing and my understanding and introspection is that the opposite of love isn't hate. The opposite of love is apathy.
Hmm.
And that's what I feel. I feel
Right.
like no emotion because I have forgiven him
Hmm.
because I can't let that energy consume me anymore,
Correct.
which is maybe why I'm so happy because I'm not letting that negativity sit with me. And I love that you said that because I think that that is such an important part of the healing because you're not forgiving to give them grace, you're forgiving to give yourself grace.
Hmm.
Right. And I love
Yes.
that so much. I love that so much.
And here's another thing. Here's a tool you can use, and it's something that you can even giggle at the moment, be happy with. Every time he does something that is nasty or rude or triggering, sit back, take a deep breath, and say, thank you, God. Thank you, universe. Thank you, world. I don't care. Thank you, big tree outside. Whatever you want, something that's beyond you for the reminder that I made a great decision to leave.
Love that.
Ooh, thank you. And
I
just kind
love
of
that.
breathe in it rather than get triggered and angry. Be like, see, this is who he is. See, you already know you're right. You left. You know you're right. You don't need to be validated on that part, right? He is who he is. What you do need to validate is that you made the right decision for yourself. And how wonderful that you can do it every time. Change it, have a giggle, happiness, just feel like, and literally have this physical breathe in and out of, wow, thank you. Oh, I needed that reminder today. And, there are some other systems out there. I don't know if you're married to the system, lack of a better word, to the system that you're using, but there's another system. And for some reason, it just left me. And I interviewed him, and it's such a great system. But it translates. So there's a lot of different ones that families can use for co-parenting.
Oh, okay.
And there's one in particular, not only does it flag, but it changes the words so that if he is sending something that's very frustrating and angry, they can flag it, but it also works with you. And it'll say something like, he appears to be struggling and confused over da 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 da, rather than hearing the angry words. And I really think it's a better system because it's coaching. It's a coaching element of how you should be speaking.
And I love that, Doctor. I love that, Dr. Kat. I just feel like trying to communicate with someone that doesn't want to listen to you, or
Right.
it's just like, even if I suggest something like this, it would have to go through the lawyers. I'd have to go. It's just mind numbing, like how
You're
difficult it is,
right.
even to
But
get like an app.
you're right. You're right. I get it.
Yeah.
Some things you have to ebb and flow. So that's something that's interesting that you just brought up, because so many people will say, well, I'm not going to make the change because it would be so much because they do. That's still them controlling,
Yeah,
right?
it's
It's
true.
still
Yeah.
them controlling. If
Yeah.
you can find a path that could be slightly better,
Mhm.
focus on what's going to make your life better and happier rather than avoiding his control and his need for chaos, because then that
Yeah.
means you're still living your life dictated by his chaos,
So true. That's
right?
so true. Yeah.
Right? I don't want to ask about this, field trip for my child because he's just going to get angry. Okay, I'll just avoid it. That's not life. That's not life. And
Yeah.
eventually he is going to need to learn. That's why I do like these different apps. There's, again, one in particular.
I know which one you're I think it's
Uh,
Our Family Wizard.
no, it's
No?
not that one. It's
Okay.
another one that's competing with that one. That is a good one. But there
Yeah.
is one, I think it's Better Family. I don't know why it's left me, but I will
Yeah.
get that information
Okay, that'll be
to you,
wonderful.
because it just has a different coaching proponent. And it was developed by this wonderful man who was struggling with his own relationship and he wanted something better.
That's
Because,
wonderful.
oftentimes, the attorneys, they want you bickering. They really do. I mean, that's just
They
how
do.
they make
Yeah.
their money,
Yeah.
right? That's
Yeah.
what they
Yeah.
do. And they want it to be where you can work together. Yes. But at the same time, they want you bickering. Of course, they can say the same thing about therapy, but hopefully therapists are there to work also with when it's good, and also how to trust when it's good, trust self to
Yeah.
maintain it, right?
Yeah.
So if that's what you want, you have to stay focused.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. When he comes at you in a negative way, he wants to trigger you.
Yeah.
He wants to do that. Why as human beings, do we allow that? Because it taps into our traumas, right? And then he keeps doing it. We call them like microaggressions, and they keep coming in, and he keeps wanting to have a response, because, when somebody's angry and they're like this, and the other person's like, I know you're angry, but we'll try and get through it. Sometimes it can make them even more angry because now they're not controlling. Their
Yeah.
response is not creating a reaction.
So true.
Right? And on
Yeah.
your side, it's learning how to not give in to that part, because he's going to push, push to get that reaction. Do you find that happens?
So true. And I think you hit the nail on the head. And I think what I have been very kind of trying to be very good about not responding. But I think my personality is such, and during my marriage, I'm a little bit of a walkover. That's just kind
Mm,
of like, I've got that kind of like, I'm a very deep empath. So I
mm-hmm.
really, and he knows that about me. He was married to me for 18 years. So he knows that I
Right.
feel everything very deeply. So he knows exactly how to trigger me when it comes to the kids. So he knows that very
Ah,
well. And
mm-hmm.
the kids are the only thing that affects me, like nothing else, which is why I was saying I forgive him because I have apathy towards him. But
Right.
when you start triggering me for my kids, that's something that affects me deeply.
Do you feel you're a good mother?
I like to believe I am. I feel
N-
like
Not
I'm learning.
perfect.
Yeah,
Not
I'm
perfect.
absolutely not perfect.
Okay, no one
I'm
is.
trying. I think I'm just trying the best I can with the cards I've been dealt. And I think that's all I can do right now. Do I make mistakes? Probably about 1,000 a day. And do I get upset? Yes, all the time. I like to believe I'm a good mother. I think my children are two of the most amazing human beings ever. I they are so kind and they are such good people. And that's all I wanted from them. I just want them to be good people. And I think that is the biggest thing for me to tell me, not that I've been a good mother, but I have been able to parent them the way that I wanted to.
That's wonderful. The fact that you're saying that they're kind, wonderful people, obviously that means you're a good mother. You're not going to get wonderful, kind people from parents who are not, right? So
Thank you.
you want to give yourself that credit because I think that's beautiful that what you just said about your kids. I think that's absolutely wonderful. I too, the same thing is that kindness. That kindness is so telling and it's so important. And yes, as parents, we make mistakes all the time, and kids don't think we have it's like we're human. We're going to
Yep.
make mistakes. We
Yep.
have emotions. They expect us to be faultless at times. And, the moment we make a mistake, that's what they focus on and not the thousand other things that we do right
Yeah.
and beautifully. So parenting is hard as it is. Um, the trigger, okay? You're telling me that he triggers you with the kids. What I recommend that you do is that you really acknowledge to yourself that you are an amazing mother, that you've done this. Look at your children and how beautiful they are. Remind yourself that you're an amazing mother. Again, not perfect. No one is, okay? So when he comes at you, again, you sit back, you say, thank you, universe, for the reminder that I made a great decision. And also, I'm a great mother. I'm a great mother. I'm not going to allow what he's saying to infiltrate. These are things we need to say to ourselves. It's almost like little mantras that we
Yeah.
say to ourselves. And it's really to convince ourselves in the moment when we have these emotions coming at us. You know, very, very strong individuals are also very, very emotional individuals. Okay. If you show me a very strong woman, that woman is also highly emotional. They
Mm.
don't expect it. And the ones that know us can use it against us.
Yeah.
Okay. So it kind of sounds like that in your
Yes.
situation.
Mm.
Um, you know, I'm a firm believer in writing things down, pen to paper, and really kind of getting down to the nitty gritty. So I'm going to give you an assignment that I think would take it or leave it. I hope you do it. But
I will do it. I will do it.
I,
Writing is my
I
passion, Dr. Kat.
perfect.
It's my passion. So
Sit down. I always say, give yourself the gift of time. Whether if you get frustrated after 10 minutes, only put 10 minutes on your phone's timer. If it's an hour or you have the luxury of a little bit more time, wonderful. Write down all the things that he could say about you that are negative. Okay. It's going to be an emotional assignment. Write down all of the things that he uses already that he knows that he can get you with. Okay. That's your power because you already know what's coming. Okay. What it does is it takes away and it deflates what he's going to be doing because you already know. See, the problem with being triggered is you're still in the shocked phase.
Yeah.
You're still shocked at his behavior. What I want you to think about is becoming shocked when he behaves well.
Mm.
Okay. When he behaves poorly, go, oh, there it is. And again, thank you for the reminder, universe, that this is who he is. Okay. Don't be shocked. That's who he is. This is how but for some reason we get caught up in the, oh my gosh, I can't believe what he just said. I can't believe he would say, why are you shocked? You left the man. You know that that is what's coming. So
Yes.
You need to stop being shocked by what he says and be shocked by the good that comes out of him.
Okay.
And then be
I
happy,
like
right?
I
Change
love
it.
Love
so
that, yeah.
Part of it can be sitting down and writing what you think he could say. And then you're like, oh yeah, that's a good one. Oh yeah, that gets me every time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and then you can look and say, gosh, sometimes he can be so hateful. How horrible that he has to carry that.
Yeah.
Not to, am I really like that? Now, if he is saying things that you are doing, you should take note. Take note, fix it, change it. Because sometimes there are things that people say that you're like, I do that.
Mm-hmm.
It was an interesting thing. This is minor, but this happened years ago. And it was usually around Super Bowl. And this is when my children were a little bit younger, when they were in grade school.
Yeah.
And there was always all these parties, and we'd be invited to all these parties. And I never wanted to say no to anyone because I didn't want anyone hurt. That was my goal. But I would go to like 4 different parties in one Super Bowl game.
Oh my gosh.
Right. I would clock the time because I just didn't want anyone to feel bad that I chose one or the other.
Yeah.
Yet there was one in particular that I tend to feel the most comfortable at because it just was more of my people.
Mm-hmm.
Till one day that person said to me, why do you go to so many parties? Because I know I'm inviting you to this one, but you're going to be going around to all these other ones. And I looked at him and I said, I'm so sorry if I've hurt your feelings. He goes, no, I my feelings aren't hurt, but you're spreading yourself so thin. Why not just pick one, enjoy it, thank him for the invitation, but really enjoy, because if not, you're maybe making people feel like you have something better to do.
Yeah.
And I was like, how did I miss that? What? Yeah. Right? And I thought to myself, you're right. Now, when an ex comes at you, it's usually fueled by a lot of ugliness. You think you're better than everyone, blah, blah. But the way this friend said this to me really opened my mind, because he saw who I was. He could see that my love was there and I didn't want to hurt people. Mm-hmm. But by doing that, I kind of was making them feel bad. Yeah. So moving forward, I chose one and that was it. That's what I did. And I handled it differently. And those are those moments where you have to realize it wasn't my intention to do that, but by my actions, I kind of was doing that. So take those moments in, because he could be saying, there could be some value in what he's saying in there somewhere. Okay. Yeah. But the other ones, start unpacking and letting go of. That way he can no longer control you through those reactions, because it's about control.
And it's funny you say that, because writing is extraordinarily cathartic for me. I write a lot, and I journal, I write a lot, and I just actually finished writing a book too. So like That's
wonderful.
Yeah, it's just so healing. Like talking and writing is really cathartic and healing for me. So I love this idea actually, because it really helps me hone in on what to expect. And that's my analytical
Right.
side of my brain speaking. So I can focus on what is the data in front of me telling me. So I can
Hmm.
expect that when he targets me with that. So I think that's a great tool.
Yeah. And the other part is reframing that everything you do in your reaction with him, because that's the father, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to be overly negative because that's
Yeah.
half your kid's DNA.
Yeah.
And they realize that they pick up on all that. But this is going to be your life.
Yeah.
He will always be in your life. The moment they decide to possibly, if they decide to get married, have kids, this person's always going to be there. How you learn to navigate is where your power lies.
Yeah.
And, you know, trying not to avoid either when you say it, because you did say pushover
Yeah.
a bit ago.
Yeah.
And pushover, peacekeeper, some of those things, great quality, but oftentimes at the expense of your own happiness,
Yeah.
right? And maybe that's why you experience a lot of different things, in your life. And now health wise, you're not. It really is amazing how once you get rid of some of these things, it just kind of opens it up.
Yeah.
The other thing is too, is that sometimes when people are angry like that, it's best to let them sit in their own mess to have to clean up. Because if you are the pushover, the one that he knows he can trigger, he's unloading and then leaving it for you to clean up. Your power comes from not taking it and allowing him to sit in his own mess to then clean it. That's where your power really comes from.
Yeah.
So, today, I hope you walk away with knowing that you already have your own empowerment. You're doing an amazing job. It sounds like you're an amazing mother. Please stay in contact with me. Is your book published yet or not yet?
It's in the process of getting published right now.
Okay. So I would love to have you come back on as an author of this book.
Yeah.
Today you're coming on and you're sharing your story, but I would love for you to come on as your author and empowerment of what I'm assuming it's over about your life or
About my whole life. And it's also about how I reframed my thinking to get away from that naivety and this pushover and the people pleasing version of myself, to really focus on loving myself more, putting myself forward, and really trauma based decision making was where I struggled the most. And I talked about the
yes,
triad of thought, right? And it's just like
yes.
that logic, that the intellect, instinct, and how to integrate them both to make the better decisions for myself. And
Mm-hmm.
how when I've started doing that is when I've finally been able to take steps forward.
Wonderful. So let me know when it's
Yes,
published,
absolutely.
and I would love to have you back on. And for everyone that is listening here today, we find ourselves in situations with relationships, past relationships, that can take such a toll on us. And unfortunately, what happens is sometimes we get into the thick of it and we don't realize it, and we're just living in survival mode. And then when we move past it, those things can still trigger us. So you want to be able to work on those things, become happier. And one of the things that I said to you also is that I'm telling you, it's an amazing tool. Just sit back and thank the universe that you just got this beautiful reminder that you made a great decision. It's empowering. It's empowering to do that. Again, don't be shocked if he acts the way he normally does. Move away from that and focus on being shocked if he's behaving in a way that is kind and cordial and in true co-parenting, the spirit of co-parenting. I will send you the name of that other company,
That'd be
and we'll
wonderful.
post it. Yeah, we'll post it on the website again, because he's a wonderful individual. This man is a wonderful individual, and he developed this company that I just think is great. And yes, it's going to be stressful trying to get him to use this new app, but the best part of it is it coaches him on how to speak better. And it also, you don't have to deal with that negativity. You just hear the coached version rather than
Yeah.
the angry, ugly
Yeah.
that you don't need to hear. That's his just issue, not yours. So thank you so much for coming on today. It was really a pleasure meeting you. Keep me posted on absolutely everything. Love to have you on again. So thank you, thank you, thank you. So again, everyone out there, communicate, and also within relationships, all relationships do not need to end in divorce. You want to be able to work towards it. But once you put your all in years of working at it, it may get to that point where that is your next decision. From there, it's learning how to co-parent. Co-parenting is definitely a hard task. The one thing I would like everyone to be challenged on today with Simi's story is that who do you want to be in that co-parenting relationship? Do you want to be the angry, bitter, attacking individual, or do you want to be the calm person who co-parents in a way that's the best thing for your children, and it gives you that opportunity to move on? It's a choice. I know you're angry, I know you're hurt, but it does come down to a choice of how you want to show up. So have a great rest of the day. Thank you again, Simi. This was wonderful.
Thank you. It's wonderful.
And have a great rest of the day, everyone. Bye.